I swear to God, I didn't see it coming. 1 second, I was holding a glass of wine, smiling at our closest friends and family, thinking this was the happiest moment of my life. 10 years of marriage. 10 years of sacrifices, love, laughter, and building a life together. The next second, my wife, Madison, stood up in her tight red dress, clinked her spoon against the glass, and made an announcement that didn't just humiliate me, it annihilated me. "I just want to say," she said, flashing that fake smile she uses when she's about to cause damage, "I'm going to Hawaii next week, with the love of my life, for another party." Everyone laughed. They thought it was some kind of joke. Some even clapped. Her sister Courtney giggled like a middle schooler, and her mother, Sharon, raised her glass like it was a goddamn toast. But I stood frozen. So I asked, with a calm voice that was doing everything it could not to crack, "What time is your flight?" And her mother, that wicked old woman who never liked me, turned to me, tilted her head, and said, "You don't know, because you're not the love of her life. You can stay behind and take care of all the kids." Silence. For a split second, it felt like someone had sucked all the air out of the room. I looked around, waiting for someone to call it a joke. For someone to say, "Come on, Madison," that was harsh. But no one did, because no one cared. So I smiled. Not because I was okay. Not because I was forgiving. But because I was about to drop a bomb. And when a man has nothing left to lose, he becomes dangerous. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a thin brown envelope. Slid it across the table. It landed right in front of Madison. She stared at it, confused. "Open it," I said, my voice low. She rolled her eyes. "What's this? Another one of your little surprises?" She opened it. Inside were photos. Dozens. Madison, half-dressed, wrapped around a man I had never seen before. A man with tattoos down his arms and a mouth that seemed to always be smirking. They were in hotel rooms, on balconies, in the back of a black SUV. "Oh my God," someone whispered. She froze. Everyone else gasped. Sharon snatched the envelope from her hands and stared in shock. And I just sat there, watching her soul leave her body. "His name is Damon," I said, finally standing up. "They've been meeting while I was putting the kids to bed, while I was building her that home office, while I was taking overtime shifts to pay off her car. This has been going on for 8 months. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. "Next week, while you're in Hawaii with him, I'll be filing for divorce," I said. "And I've already spoken to a lawyer. Sharon, you can keep helping her destroy lives. But my kids are staying with me." Now the silence was real. I walked away from that dinner with my head held high and my heart on fire. Not with rage. Not yet. That would come later. But with something more dangerous. Resolve. I knew there was more to uncover. This wasn't just about betrayal. This wasn't just about a man named Damon. It was about who my wife had become. And I was going to find out everything. Because this wasn't the end. This was the beginning. The beginning of war. I didn't go home that night. I drove around until my gas tank lit up, parked in some empty Walmart lot, and sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, staring into the nothingness. My phone buzzed nonstop. Texts from her. Calls from her sister. Even a missed call from Sharon. I didn't answer any of them. Not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because I knew if I heard her voice, I might snap. And I needed to stay focused. It wasn't just betrayal, it was the theater of it. She performed my humiliation. In front of family. Friends. Our kids' godparents. And for what? For some smug bastard with a tan and a gym membership? At 4:27 a.m., I finally drove home. The house was dark. Quiet. But my blood was still screaming. I didn't wake the kids. Didn't say a word. I just walked into our bedroom and opened her drawers. I wanted to see for myself. And there it was, a second phone. Sloppy. Obvious. Hidden behind an old scarf she hadn't worn since Christmas. I unlocked it with her birthday. No passcode change. No caution. Just pure arrogance. The messages were disgusting. "Last night was wild. My legs still shaking, face-blowing kiss. I wish I woke up next to you instead of that boring husband. Let's book the penthouse again. That view. And you on that couch? Damn." I scrolled through photos, some taken in our home. On the couch where we watched Pixar movies with our kids. On our kitchen counter. Even one in my garage, where I taught my son how to fix his bike. The rage was volcanic. I closed the phone, put it back where I found it, and went to the kitchen to make coffee like nothing happened. Like I wasn't choking on the betrayal. Around 7:30, she came downstairs. Hair up in a lazy bun, wearing my college hoodie like she hadn't just detonated our marriage hours ago. She yawned. Hey, did you sleep at all? I didn't answer. She walked closer, slowly realizing something was off. My silence made her uneasy. She tried to act cute, leaning on the kitchen counter. Listen, about last night, maybe I went a little overboard. I looked up at her. That was it. That was her opening move. After 10 years, 3 kids, and a public gut punch, maybe she went overboard. She sighed. Damon, he was just, I don't know, okay? He made me feel alive again. I laughed. Out loud. That bitter, wounded kind of laugh. So I made you feel dead? I asked, still calm, still drinking my coffee. She shrugged. You were always busy. The bills. The house. Work. I just wanted to feel like a woman again. A woman. That's what she said. Not a mother. Not a wife. A woman. You had to lie. Sneak around. Have hotel hookups just to feel like a woman? No, it wasn't just about that, she said quickly, panic flashing behind her eyes now. He listens to me. He touches me like he means it. You started treating me like a roommate. That's when I stood up. The chair scraped so loud the kids upstairs probably heard it. You had everything. And when it got hard, when life got real, you took the first exit with abs and a credit card. She flinched. For once, she had nothing to say. I grabbed my keys. I'm taking the kids to my sister's. You can pack your things while I'm gone. When I come back, I don't want to see you here. She gasped. Wait, what? You can't do that. You can't take them. I was already halfway to the door. Try me. And I meant it. Because now I didn't just want answers. I wanted justice. And she had no idea what was coming. She didn't leave. When I got back with the kids later that day, she was still there, sitting on the couch like it was just another Sunday, like she hadn't blown up everything we'd built with a single sentence and a secret life. She stood when I walked in. We need to talk. I motioned for my sister, Lauren, to take the kids upstairs. They went quietly, sensing something heavy in the air. Madison crossed her arms, standing in the living room like she owned it. You think you can just take the kids without a conversation? No, I said flatly. I don't think. I know. Her mouth twisted. You're not getting full custody. You're not turning them against me. I don't have to. You did that all by yourself. She walked up to me, not apologetic, not broken, just pissed that I wasn't crawling. I made a mistake. It doesn't erase everything else. We had a life, Nathan. A family. You really want to throw it all away? You already did. She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. One mistake. Stop calling it a mistake. A mistake is burning dinner or forgetting an anniversary. You had a relationship. You told another man you loved him. You planned AF *****ing trip with him. She smirked. Actually smirked. At least he made me feel loved. That was it. That line broke something in me. You know what I realized last night? I said, stepping in closer, my voice low. All those nights you said you were out with Courtney? She didn't even know about half of them. I called her. She was as surprised as I was. Her eyes flicked sideways. Just a second. Just enough. And that necklace you said you treated yourself to? I pointed to the little gold chain she always wore. He bought it, didn't he? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I kept going. How many hotel rooms? How many lies? Was he there when I was driving our daughter to the ER because she had a fever of 104? Were you texting him then, too? Don't turn this into me being a bad mother. You turned it into this, I snapped. You lied every step of the way. And now you want to play the victim because I won't just forgive and forget. She folded her arms. What do you want, Nathan? Revenge? You want to destroy me? No, I said calmly. I want peace. And that means you leaving. She laughed bitterly. You think you'll get peace? You think the courts will just hand you the kids? I smiled. I have the phone. The second one. The one with all your messages, all your hotel check-ins, your voice notes, the pictures. I backed it up last night. The smirk disappeared. You think I'm going to let my kids grow up thinking what you did was okay? I'm not letting them be raised by someone who chooses their own pleasure over their family. She took a step back. For the first time, real fear in her face. You wouldn't. I already did. I walked past her, grabbed the backpack I had packed for her, and dropped it by the door. Get out, Madison. Before the police escort you. She looked like she might throw something. Or cry. But she didn't. She just stood there, stunned. I'm not done, she whispered. I looked her in the eye. Neither am I. Then she left. No goodbye. No apology. Just silence. And that was somehow worse than if she'd screamed. Because it meant she never really cared. Not about me. Not about the kids. just about herself. I didn't sleep that night, not even a minute. I sat at the edge of the bed with my laptop open, the phone backed up, every photo, video, voice note carefully cataloged. I had files, dates, hotel addresses, everything I needed. It wasn't about destroying her anymore. It was about protecting what was left of my life. My kids, my peace, my name. Around 3:14 a.m., my email pinged. It was her. Subject: You're ruining everything. I opened it. Short, venomous. You think this makes you a hero? You think they'll grow up loving a bitter man who threw their mother out? Good luck finding someone who'll love a man who records everything and hides behind lawyers. I didn't reply. The next day, I met with my lawyer, Ben. Good guy. Tough. No nonsense. As soon as he saw the evidence, he leaned back in his chair and exhaled like he'd just taken a shot of whiskey. Jesus, Nathan. She was bold. She thought I'd never find out, I said. She was careless, he replied. This is enough for sole custody. You're going to have to be calm through the process, but legally, you're on strong ground. That should have brought relief. It didn't. It brought sadness. Because all I kept seeing was our wedding day. Her in white. Me, stupidly smiling like I'd won the lottery. Her saying forever with that fake sincerity she'd perfected over the years. And now it was just business. Divorce meetings. Custody arguments. Court dates. I didn't tell the kids everything. How could I? They were too young. But they knew something was off. My daughter, Emma, asked why Mommy wasn't home anymore. I told her Mommy was taking some time away, that she loved them very much. It wasn't the truth, but it was kinder than the truth. 3 days after she left, Madison showed up unannounced. I opened the door, and there she stood, sunglasses on despite the cloudy sky, hairstyled, lips painted blood red like she was walking into a Vogue shoot instead of her broken home. I came to see my kids, she said flatly. They're at school, I lied. She tried to peer around me. Let me in, Nathan. No. You can't keep me out. I can. There's a no-contact order pending. She laughed, stepping back. You really filed for that? I don't trust you. I don't trust what you'd say to them. I don't trust what you'd bring around them. You're being dramatic. I stared at her. Tell me, Madison, are you still seeing Damon? Her lips tightened. That silence was enough. I'll take that as a yes, I said. You're a pathetic man. You know that? She spat. You think this makes you strong? Running to lawyers, hiding behind court orders. No, I said. But I won't let a woman who called another man the love of her life raise my kids like nothing happened. She shook her head, scoffing. You think I'm the villain. You always needed to be the good guy. The perfect father. But you're not. You were cold. Distant. Too wrapped up in your routines to even notice me disappearing. I noticed, I said, stepping closer, lowering my voice. I just didn't want to believe the woman I married was capable of what you did. She stood silent for a second, then smiled, cruel and sharp. Maybe she always was. Maybe you just didn't look hard enough. Then she turned and walked away like she hadn't just gutted me again with a few casual words. As I watched her car disappear down the street, something in me cracked. I realized this wasn't just about betrayal. It wasn't just about a broken marriage. It was about identity. About rediscovering who I was when I wasn't someone's backup plan. When I wasn't the man holding everything together while someone else tore it all apart. And I wasn't going to be that man anymore. The first hearing came faster than expected. Madison showed up with a new lawyer, young, sharp suit, fake confidence. I could tell right away he was one of those guys who thought charm could outwit the truth. She wore white. Of all colors, white. Like this was some kind of redemption arc. Her face looked clean, innocent, rehearsed. I'd seen that look before back when we were dating, when she'd lie about where she'd been, who she was with. My lawyer, Ben, leaned toward me and whispered, let her talk first. Don't react. They're going to play the victim card. And damn, he was right. The minute the judge asked her lawyer to speak, the guy launched into this pathetic monologue. Mrs. Rayner is a devoted mother. She acknowledges there were mistakes made, but she believes reconciliation is possible. She's concerned about the emotional manipulation Mr. Rayner may be using on the children, limiting contact, fabricating stories, and creating unnecessary barriers between a mother and her children. I almost laughed. Madison dabbed her eyes like she was at a funeral. I sat still. Let her bury herself. When it was my turn, Ben stood up, cleared his throat, and laid everything out with no emotion, no fire, just cold, hard facts. Dates, images, recordings, witnesses. And then we played one of the voice notes from her hidden phone. Madison's voice filled the courtroom. I'm just sick of pretending. Nathan's boring. He's like a wall. Damon actually knows how to make me feel something. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'd leave it all behind just to have one more night with him. The judge didn't flinch, but I saw her lawyer blink. Hard. Twice. Madison? She looked like she wanted to crawl out of her own skin. She didn't speak again that day. Not a single word. After court, I drove to the beach. Not because I needed air, but because it was the only place I could be alone with the sound of something that didn't lie to me. I sat on the hood of my car and watched the tide pull back over and over. Thought about how easily life strips you of everything you thought was permanent. The ring was still in my pocket. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe part of me hoped she'd walk into that courtroom and say, I was wrong. I lost myself. I want to make it right. But she didn't. She defended herself like a criminal who still believed the rules didn't apply. Like the truth was just another story to twist. That night, Lauren called me. She said Emma asked why Mommy didn't pick her up from ballet like she used to. I didn't know what to say. So I told her, Mommy's figuring things out right now. She replied, will she be okay? And I said, I don't know. I couldn't lie anymore. Not even to protect them. A few days later, Madison texted me. Can we talk? No lawyers. Just us. I didn't reply right away. But something inside me, some bitter, broken part, wanted to hear what she had to say when there weren't judges watching or attorneys speaking for her. So I told her to come by Saturday morning. She showed up exactly at 9, wearing the sweater I bought her last Christmas. Looking softer. Still manipulative, but toned down. We sat at the dining table. The same table where she used to lay out birthday cakes. Where we planned family trips. Where she probably texted him under the table while pretending to laugh at my jokes. She cleared her throat. I messed up. I didn't say anything. She continued, I don't expect forgiveness. But I didn't plan to fall for him. It just happened. You're not a teenager, I said flatly. You had a choice. You made it. She nodded. I just wanted to feel alive again. Everything got routine. You were busy, the kids, the bills. And he made me feel wanted. And now? I asked. She looked down. Now he's gone. He ghosted me after the photos came out. Probably scared of the drama. I held back a laugh. She looked up at me, eyes glassy. I made a huge mistake. No, I said. You made 100 small ones. And they added up. You just finally saw the cost. She reached out like she wanted to touch my hand. I moved mine away. She flinched. Then I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. We're done here, Madison. And for the first time, she didn't argue. She just left. 3 weeks passed. Silence became my new normal. The house was quieter, colder, but somehow clearer. The kids adjusted faster than I expected. Maybe because the tension that used to hang in every room had vanished. Maybe because kids always sense more than we give them credit for. Madison tried calling once. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail that started with, I miss the kids, but ended with, you're being cruel. Classic. She still believed she was the victim in a mess of her own design. I busied myself with routines. Making lunches. Driving to school. Laundry. Work. I even started running again, something I hadn't done since before we got married. Not for fitness. Just for the pain. The burn in my legs made me feel something that wasn't betrayal. One night, I was folding laundry when my son, Jake, walked in. He was 9. Too smart for his own good. Dad, he said, why don't you smile anymore? That question hit harder than any court order. I sat down next to him and pulled him into my arms. Sometimes adults go through things that hurt, but it doesn't mean we stop loving you. He nodded slowly, then whispered, did Mommy hurt you? I didn't answer. Just held him tighter. I wasn't ready to explain. Maybe I never would be. But I knew he felt it. The fracture. The shift. A few days later, I got a message from Ben. You need to see this. Sending a screenshot. It was a post. Madison had gone public with Damon. Again, what's meant to be will always find its way. Hawaii wasn't just a trip. It was the beginning of something real. Hashtag love of my life, hashtag second chances. My hands trembled. Not from jealousy, but from pure rage at the lie. He ghosted her. She said it herself. And now here she was, trying to rewrite history online. Like none of it happened. Like I was just a sad footnote in her little romantic saga. She didn't want to be forgiven. She wanted to be adored. She texted me an hour later. Can I take the kids this weekend? Just for Saturday night. I stared at the message. My thumb hovered over no, but then I stopped. Because I realized something. She was showing the world one version of herself, but she needed the kids to keep that illusion alive. I called Ben. File for emergency temporary custody. Full. He didn't ask why. He just said, got it. The next morning, she showed up at the house without warning. Again. No call. No heads up. Just her red SUV pulling into the driveway like she still lived there. She rang the bell, hard. I opened the door halfway. What are you doing here? She pushed past me, eyes wild. Did you file for full custody? What the hell, Nathan? You posted a man online who isn't their father, who's been part of your betrayal, and now you want unsupervised time? Are you out of your mind? She stepped closer, face twisted. You're jealous. That's what this is. You're bitter and controlling and trying to punish me because I moved on. I laughed. You think I care who you post? I care about my kids. And you've shown zero judgment, zero remorse, and zero ability to put them first. You don't get to decide that, she yelled. I pointed to the door. Get out, Madison. No. Not until you tell me what's really going on in that twisted little head of yours. I stepped close enough she could feel the heat of my fury. You want the truth? You're not their mother anymore. You're a cautionary tale. You lied, cheated, and humiliated me in front of our family. And then you turned our kids into props for your pathetic Instagram fantasy. You lost the right to ask questions the moment you chose him over us. She stood frozen, silent, and then she slapped me. Hard. The sound cracked through the house like a whip. I didn't flinch. Get out, or I'll call the cops. She looked like she wanted to scream, cry, hit me again, but instead, she turned and walked out the door. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something that resembled freedom. The slap left a red mark on my cheek that faded within an hour, but the burn stayed longer. Not physical. Emotional. Symbolic. Like she had to leave one final fingerprint on my dignity before walking away. But I didn't call the cops. I didn't need the chaos. I needed control. And I had it now. Later that night, I sat alone in the living room, watching a home video on my phone. It was from 2 years ago, Jake's 7th birthday. Madison was laughing in the background, holding the cake. The kids were singing. I was filming, smiling like a man who had it all. I paused the video right as she looked into the lens and winked. Like we shared a secret. Back then, we did. But not the one I thought. She was probably already cheating. There was something haunting about realizing betrayal wasn't a single event. It was a slow, silent bleed that started long before I noticed. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal paperwork, supervised visit schedules, therapy sessions for the kids, and meetings with school counselors. I told them the truth in fragments. Enough to protect them, but never enough to let the poison spill over. Then one morning, Emma came down holding a drawing. It was a picture of me, her, Jake, and a woman with a big red X over her face. Who's this? I asked gently. She looked at me, wide-eyed. Mommy. I didn't say a word. Just stared at it, feeling the breath leave my lungs. What does the X mean? I asked. She made you cry, Emma whispered. Jake said she broke the house. I folded the paper quietly and tucked it into a drawer. I didn't know whether to feel broken or grateful that they understood. That weekend, during her court-approved 2-hour supervised visit at a family center, Madison brought gifts. Dolls. Toys. Candy. All bought to paint over the rod. The kids barely touched them. Jake asked if Damon was coming. Emma said she didn't want to go to Hawaii. I watched her expression crumble in real time. That look, when a woman who lived for attention realizes her own children see through her act. It was devastating. And I didn't feel sorry. After the visit, she texted me again. Can we talk? Please. Just me and you. I stared at the message. It was different this time. Not angry. Not defensive. Just hollow. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a public park. Neutral ground. She wore no makeup, hair in a loose ponytail, no rings, no games. Just Madison. Raw. Exposed. I ruined everything, she said before I could speak. I nodded. You did. I was stupid. I thought I was chasing something that would make me feel whole again. Did it? No, she looked at the ground. Damon's gone. He left the day you posted those photos in court. Said he couldn't deal with the drama. Said I was too complicated. I didn't laugh. Didn't smirk. I just listened. I don't want him back, she added. I don't even think I wanted him. I just wanted to feel something other than invisible. You made me feel invisible for years, I said calmly. While I was giving everything I had, you were feeding your ego with secrets and attention. You don't get to rewrite that now. I know. Her voice cracked. I don't want anything from you. Not money. Not pity. I just want them to know I still love them. Then act like it, I said coldly. Get help. Fix yourself. Show them love that doesn't come wrapped in lies and gifts. Show up as someone who earns trust, not demands it. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. But I didn't reach for her. I didn't offer comfort. That part of me was gone. Before we left, she asked, "Do you hate me?" I thought for a moment, then looked her in the eye. No. Hating you would mean I still cared that much. She broke down, right there on the bench, hands covering her face, sobbing into the wind. I walked away, not out of cruelty, but because some wounds only heal when you stop picking at them. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. Clean on paper, messy underneath. She didn't fight it anymore. Maybe because she'd finally realized she had no ground to stand on, or maybe because she was too tired to pretend. Either way, it was over. I got primary custody. The house. Most of the shared assets. She got scheduled visitation, therapy requirements, and the cold reality of starting over with no one clapping for her anymore. The day the papers came in the mail, I didn't celebrate. I sat at the kitchen table, just me and a glass of whiskey, staring at my name next to the word single. It should have felt like freedom, but it felt like fallout. I wasn't the same man anymore. One morning, while packing lunch for the kids, Jake came in and asked, "Are you happier now?" That question hit like a punch. I knelt down, looked him in the eyes, and said, "I will be. I'm working on it." Because that was the truth. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It happens in pieces. Quiet moments. Deep breaths. Learning to enjoy the silence again. I stopped looking at Madison's social media. She kept posting pictures of new friends, forced smiles, hashtags about fresh starts and self-love. But none of it felt real. It was the same mask with a different filter. Eventually, I started talking to people again. Friends I'd pushed away. Colleagues who invited me out. Even one woman, Rachel, a single mom from Jake's school who smiled with her whole face and asked me about my favorite books instead of what I did for a living. But I wasn't ready for more. Not yet. I needed to rebuild the man I'd lost in that marriage. One night, after the kids fell asleep, I opened the drawer where I'd hidden Emma's drawing. The one with the red X over her mother's face. I looked at it for a long time. Then I took a marker and gently drew a new line, one that erased the X. Not because I forgave Madison, but because I didn't want my kids carrying that anger forever. They deserved better. So did I. Looking back, there were signs. I ignored them. I excused them. I thought love meant patience, sacrifice, silence. But love also means respect, honesty, effort. And if those things are missing, you're not in love, you're in survival mode. I'd spent years surviving. Now it was time to live. If there's one thing I learned through all this, it's this. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. It reveals what was already broken. And sometimes, the most painful truth is the one that sets you free. So to every man reading this, wondering if you're crazy, overthinking, or not enough, listen closely. If she humiliates you, lies to you, disrespects you, she's already gone. And you deserve more than leftovers from someone who gave their best to someone else. Choose yourself. Every time. A year later, I stood at the same beach where I once sat alone, staring at the ocean with a broken heart and no idea what came next. But this time, I wasn't alone. Jake and Emma were running down the sand, laughing, chasing each other with sticks like little warriors, their cheeks flushed and alive. I was smiling, not because everything was perfect, far from it, but because I had made it. Through the wreckage, through the silence, through the nights where grief sat heavy on my chest and the days where I doubted every decision I'd made. Madison still came around sometimes. Quiet now. Measured. The fire she used to burn everything in her path had faded. She didn't fight anymore. Didn't flash that smug smile. She'd become a shadow of the woman who once stood in front of a room full of people and said I wasn't the love of her life. And maybe I wasn't. But that didn't break me. It built me. Because now, I knew who I was. I was the man who stayed when she ran. The father who showed up when she disappeared. The husband who gave everything until there was nothing left to give. And when that moment came, I didn't collapse. I evolved. I started reading again. Waking up early. Cooking meals from scratch. Taking walks without my phone. Laughing more. Noticing the little things, the way Emma hums when she draws. How Jake insists on saying goodnight twice just in case I didn't hear the first one. There's a kind of peace that comes after you survive the worst version of love. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop needing closure. You realize the greatest revenge isn't anger or punishment, it's healing. So if you've been hurt, if she betrayed you, if you were made to feel small, unwanted, replaceable, hear me. You are not weak for loving the wrong person. You are not broken because she lied. You are not unworthy because she couldn't see your value. You are still here, still breathing, still standing. And your story isn't over. It's just beginning.